In the sweltering heat of a Hawaiian summer, waves crashed upon the shores of the Big Island. The wind carried the scent of salt and flowers through the valleys, where mighty warriors once trained in silence and song. It was a time before the unification of the islands, a time when gods still whispered through volcanoes and destiny rode on the blades of obsidian spears. From this sacred land rose a man who would become both legend and warning. He was tall, nearly 6 feet 5 inches, with a frame said to resemble Hercules himself. His name was Kaiana. Born of noble blood and raised in the traditions of the aliʻi, the ruling chiefs of Hawaii, he would be the first of his people to travel the world, and the first to stand against the very king he once served. His story is one of ambition, betrayal, and destiny, and it begins long before he drew his final breath on the cliffs of Nuʻuanu. Chapter 1. A Kingdom Divided in the 18th Century. Hawaii was not a single kingdom, but a fractured archipelago locked in an endless struggle for dominance. The islands of Hawaii, Maui, Oahu, and Kauai each had their own rulers, aliʻi nui, each vying for control, glory, and favor from the gods. The society was rigid and hierarchical. At the top stood the aliʻi, the royal class, followed by the kahuna, priests and intellectuals, maka'ainana, commoners, and kaua, outcasts. Power was dictated by genealogy, and Kaiana was born into greatness. His father, a noble from the island of Hawaii, carried a bloodline of chiefs going back generations. His mother hailed from Kauai, also of noble descent. This dual heritage made Kaiana not only respected, but potentially dangerous. From a young age, Kaiana exhibited traits that set him apart: strength, intellect, and an insatiable curiosity about the world beyond the island's mountains and surf. While other boys practiced throwing spears and chanting prayers, Kaiana gazed toward the horizon, wondering what lay beyond the blue. That curiosity would soon collide with destiny. Chapter 2. A stranger from the sea in 1778, the great sails of a British ship pierced the skies above the Pacific. Captain James Cook, navigating uncharted waters, became the first European to make sustained contact with the Hawaiian Islands. The arrival of the foreigners would forever alter the fate of the islands, and of Kaiana himself. Over the next few years, more European ships followed, fur traders, explorers, and merchants. Their arrival brought disease, steel, gunpowder, and opportunity. Among the captains was a man named John Meares, a British trader who would play a pivotal role in Kaiana's life. By 1787, Kaiana had grown into a towering warrior with a regal presence. When Meares visited Kauai, Kaiana made a decision that would shock the chiefs. He asked to leave Hawaii and join the crew. What made him leave? Perhaps it was a thirst for knowledge. Perhaps it was ambition. Or perhaps Kaiana knew that to rise higher than any chief before him, he had to become more than Hawaiian. He had to become worldly. Chapter 3. Across the earth, Kaiana boarded the Nootka, a British ship bound for China. As the sails caught wind and the island disappeared behind him, Kaiana became the first Hawaiian to travel the world. Their first destination was Macau, a bustling Chinese port city unlike anything Kaiana had seen. Imagine the scene: a giant Polynesian warrior striding through foreign streets, clad in a traditional malo loincloth, a feathered cape fluttering behind him, a gleaming spear in hand. The locals were stunned. Some fled in fear while others watched in awe. According to Hawaiian historian David Miller, Kaiana was like a walking myth, terrifying the Chinese with his size and presence. But the journey didn't end there. Kaiana traveled to the Philippines, visited the northwest coast of North America, and encountered indigenous Alaskans. He watched the way other civilizations lived, how they traded, fought, governed, and prayed. He learned about gunpowder, muskets, cannons, and maps that charted oceans like streams. Though he missed the warmth of his homeland, Kaiana was no longer just a Hawaiian chief. He was now a global traveler with knowledge none of his rivals possessed. Chapter 4. Return of the Traveler in 1788, Kaiana returned to Hawaii aboard the Iphigenia Nubiana, a ship captained by William Douglas, another British trader. He was greeted not as an outcast, but as a celebrated son, the man who had seen the world and returned. The reigning king of the Big Island at the time was Kamehameha, a powerful and ambitious leader bent on unifying the islands. He welcomed Kaiana with open arms, not only for his lineage, but for the weapons and connections he brought with him. Though many believed Kaiana introduced firearms to Hawaii, it was actually British captains like Douglas who armed Kamehameha. Still, it was Kaiana's friendship with the British that secured access to foreign technology, giving Kamehameha a decisive edge. Kaiana became one of Kamehameha's top commanders. He helped train warriors, forge alliances, and prepare for the great battles to come. But in the court of kings, power is a dangerous thing to hold, especially when you shine too brightly. Chapter 5. The Falling Out As Kamehameha's power grew, so too did tensions within his court. Kaiana, once trusted, found himself increasingly isolated. Whether out of jealousy, fear, or strategic caution, Kamehameha began excluding him from important war councils. Then came the scandal. Captain George Vancouver, another British explorer, who visited Hawaii multiple times, claimed that Kaiana had slept with Kamehameha's favorite wife, the striking and powerful Ka'ahumanu. The truth of the affair remains debated. Some say it was slander, others say it was love. But the damage was done. In the world of aliʻi, such a betrayal was unforgivable. Feeling threatened and betrayed, Kaiana made a fateful decision. He turned against Kamehameha. Chapter 6. The betrayal in 1795, Kaiana and his two half-brothers defected to the side of Kamehameha's enemy, Kalanikupule, the chief of Oahu. He offered more than just swords. He brought strategic insight, military discipline, and warriors loyal to his cause. It was a bold move, but one that could have changed the future of Hawaii forever. The battleground would be the steep cliffs and lush valleys of Nuʻuanu, a place now etched in blood and legend. Chapter 7. The Battle of Nuʻuanu on the Misty. Morning of the battle, Kaiana donned his red and yellow feathered helmet and cape, leading his warriors into the heart of combat. He knew he might die. He knew he had betrayed a king, but he also knew that glory required risk. The battle was brutal. Muskets cracked, spears flew, warriors screamed chants to the gods of war. Kaiana fought like a man possessed, slaying many, before a musket ball finally found its mark. He fell, along with one of his brothers and 300 of his warriors, their blood mingling with the red earth. Kamehameha's forces pushed the remainder of Kalanikupule's army up the cliffs of Nuʻuanu. Many were driven off the edge, hundreds plunged to their deaths below. Kaiana was dead, but the islands were on the cusp of unity. Chapter 8, Legacy of a Legend. 15 years after that bloody battle, Kamehameha completed his mission. Padia, full unification of the Hawaiian Islands under one crown. And yet, even as Kamehameha's name was etched into history as the Great King, the story of Kaiana would not fade. European writers, captivated by his size and presence, immortalized him in journals and books. Hawaiians passed down his story through chants and whispers, some condemning him, others honoring his courage. He had been a warrior, a world traveler, a traitor, and perhaps a man ahead of his time. In many ways, Kaiana embodied the tension of his era, the pull between tradition and modernity, between loyalty and ambition, between gods and gunpowder. Today, his name lives on in paintings, poems, and the winds that blow through the cliffs of Nuʻuanu. Epilogue: A feather in the wind on. The high ridges of Oahu, where mist clings to the trees and silence reigns, one can almost hear the chants of fallen warriors. Perhaps among them walks Kaiana, tall, proud, unbowed, his feathered cloak fluttering in a wind that never forgets. For in the story of Hawaii, there is no unity without conflict, no greatness without sacrifice, and no future without reckoning with the past, and in that past stands Chief Kaʻiana, the warrior who betrayed a king and became immortal,